Hey guys, Space Marine 658 here, and it's time for update 12 this week. It's been a few weeks since my last update. Most of that was because of Thanksgiving and I had to prepare for finals. So I've been a little too busy to make a video, but I have made some progress. So this week I'll kind of go over the last 3 weeks of progress that I've made. So I've got a quest system in the game up and working, and it even has a faction system tied into it. So when you complete quests for certain factions, you'll get like kind of opinion rewards for working with them. And you can also have them removed if you do certain quests that kind of go against that faction. Now, it won't be as simple as picking a faction and that's the faction you stick with, like some games, but it's going to be more focused on some factions. You'll be very limited in what you can do with them, but most of them you'll be able to kind of play with each and every one of them. There will just be certain quests that will impact certain factions. So you may have to decide whether or not you want to do that quest, because even though it might help you be liked by one faction more, say the survivors, it may like the military or the Yakuza or whoever I decide to make as different factions, they may end up disliking you a little bit. And so that's sort of what I've been working on this last week. It's got an XP system tied into it, so that when you complete quests, you get XP for that. There's a whole leveling system. Right now, there's not any bonuses for leveling, but probably next week what I'll be working on is bonuses for that. Different unlockable choices. What you can pick. If you want to have more stamina or more carrying capacity, you could get that. I'll have to spend the next week or so working on that. And then I've also added a dialogue system and some characters in here now that can give you quests through the dialogue system. Now, I'm kind of going for more a natural progression. So it won't be as simple as, do you want this quest, yes or no? It'll be more of a, hey, go talk to so-and-so, they can help you out. But then you can choose to not do that quest, or there will be times when there will be quests where they'll sort of ask you, be like, hey, could you go deliver this part to so-and-so? And by doing that, you'll get to make some choices with how you want to work with each faction. But yeah, now, so that previous week I had worked on dialogue system, and I tied that into the quest system. It's got the ability to have branching dialogue. It's got dialogue voice cues that can play and be skipped, kind of like if anyone's ever played Skyrim, how you can just skip over the voice dialogue bits and just get straight to the questions. I haven't put any dialogue voice lines for the main character, just because I like kind of like the New Vegas style, where the character will have lots of options of what to pick from, so you're not so limited by how many voice lines somebody could put out. And it makes it a little easier for me, because then I'm just limited to making voice lines for NPCs. I don't have to worry about making it for voice actors, so I can have a bunch of different lines. Even if most of the lines are going to branch, my goal is to have pretty wide variety of choices, depending on personal preference and playstyle. There will be some options, though, that kind of coalesce into the same thing. Mostly there will be the ones that are like questions, so if you're asking a question, you're going to get another series of question lines after that. You're not going to just have the same thing repeat over and over. Well, let's see, what else? Oh, I worked on some AI meshes and kind of giving them some basic animations using some free animation things available, because I'm not an animator and I can't create character meshes. I can create all the other meshes, but they look a little bit better when actually lit up. They might be a little hard to... They look a little weird like this because this is unlit scene. But I've given them some basic NPC animations, so they'll kind of like chill there and kind of talk when you're talking to them. They'll have a different animation, and I want to branch them out a bit and give them daily tasks, so that when you're not talking to a specific AI, they may go on about like just living a daily task. I'm not sure exactly how I want to do that yet. I'll probably tie it into a dialogue system, so once you've talked to a specific character you need to talk to, they'll go about their daily lives. But it may be that before then, if they're an important character you need to talk to, maybe they'll hang out at a certain spot, maybe do some small stuff here or there, but not go too far. That way it's not too hard to find them. But then characters that are more of a locational objective, like this guy, my plan is to have a compass system with like a quest marker. So when you've got a current quest active, it'll actually show up on your compass. So like, for example, the first quest is to go and find this guy. Now this is just placeholder quest, so I could mess with the quest system. But it might show up on your quest compass that he's like right here, even though you're above him. So you'll just have to know. I'll probably have a little symbol, above their name or above the quest marker that'll signify whether they're below you or above you. That way it's a little easier to find them. But what you have to do is you have to come down here and come here and speak to him. And the compass will just make that a little bit easier to find exactly where they're at. But yeah, I tried messing around with some recoil animation stuff. I had a little bit of trouble with that, and I couldn't quite get that into working. Now, there's still recoil in the game, but they're not quite animated. So it does look a little like snappy, which may not be necessarily a bad thing because guns in real life are a little snappier. But I'll have to play around with it and see what I think. And then the last thing I got in here is I actually got the Quixel add-on because it's now free for all UE4 users. So I've started playing around with that. This is this little manhole cover over here. It's just using Quixel. Right now it doesn't work with 4.24, which is what I'm on. But I was able, you can still download them and then import them into the engine. It just takes an extra step. But it's not too bad at all. So I've got a few textures in the game that have the Quixel thing, so I was playing around with them. This will be eventually, I'm thinking about adding a sewer system. This is sort of a play test for that. I would just have to open the sewer and kind of go down in there and kind of explore. So that's something I'm thinking about doing. But yeah, I think that's it for these past couple weeks. It doesn't seem like a lot, but let me hit play. There's actually quite a bit to it, so it did take a bit of time. So as you can see in the right-hand corner, there's the current player level and their experience.
What the?
So you can talk to these people.
What the hell are you doing here? The police never come through here, let alone now of all times.
Now that is my voice acting, which is kind of garbage, but we'll see if I can get somebody to do some voice acting for the game at a later date. So now you got two options, and what will actually happen is these actually matter. Right now, I didn't lock them just because I wanted to play around with, how to choose different options. But if you say get endorsed citizen, he'll take that kind of rudely and just tell you basically to F off. So yeah, and then you go out. Now you can go back in.
What the hell are you doing here?
The
police
my
never
eventual,
come through here, let alone now of all times.
My eventual goal would be that when you select this, it may stop you from being able to talk to him at all. So you may still be able to go down below and talk to Terrence, but he won't know you from Fred, so you won't be able to. You'll have a harder time getting into that faction, just because you're rude. Now, this is not necessarily going to lock you out completely, but it may make it a little bit more difficult for you to get your foot in the door, so to say. So yeah, and there's that. So he asks you what's going on, and you can either say goodbye at this point and just ignore him, or you can say no, and this is when he gives you the quest. So now that I've exited, I can hit M to go to my quest log, and here's actually my options menu where I can change my key bindings. I can also set my volume. Now, currently this does for everything. Eventually, I'll have it split up into a couple different volume subsets. So you'll have a master volume, then you might have a music volume, then a sound effect volume. And this will kind of control the overall. This will be like a multiplier. So that when you have this set to 25%, but you've got the music set to full, the music will be only 25%, but say you got the sound effects down to 0, they'll be at 0. So it'll be 25% of their personal maximum. At least that's the goal. And then in here, I got my key bindings, like I said. And then over here, I've got story quests and then side quests. Story quests will actually progress your character through the game. If you follow these, you can eventually get to the end of the game. And I'm still writing what I want to do with that, so I'm not sure exactly how I want this to go all the way through. But I've got a rough idea. And then these will be more of like ways to get points with factions, or ways to get certain players to certain characters in the game to like you, maybe become your AI companion, because that's an eventual goal, is to have AI companions that will work alongside you. But yeah, if I hit activate here, this is kind of, I'm not very good at UI, so this is very rough UI. But it'll say, this is your objective. Now, if you have multiple objectives, it'll list them all out. So this one right now, all you have is go see Terrence. And the description of this quest is go speak to Terrence down in the ramen shop. It's a very broad, but eventually this will be a little bit more detailed, so it'll give you a little bit more backstory on what's going on, or maybe on the specific quest in general. So it'll be like, Fred asked me to go speak to Terrence down in the ramen shop. It looks like it'd be downstairs if I turn a left. So it'll give you some minor instructions, but nothing like exact route for route instructions. And then this will be your actual quest. Now, right now, these don't check off. Now, they do in here. So see how it says incomplete in the upper left-hand corner? If I go down here to Terrence... and then talk to him, I completed the quest, and I improved the survivor's opinion by 5. You can see my character is starving to death. So now that quest is complete, and I can actually talk to him. Before, if I tried to talk to him, he would have just told me goodbye, basically, and just left me alone. But now I can actually speak to him, and he'll actually speak back to me. And I say, and then I've completed that quest, so I come in here and I actually have another quest. This one, eventually, I'll get to the point where I can mark these as complete. That's probably what I'll work on a bit next week. And then you won't be able to set them as active once they're complete because there's nothing to set active. And then down here, you can set this active. Now, this one is not actually... I haven't set an objective for this one just because I was making sure you could actually receive the quest from him. But, yeah. I believe that's it for this week. Next week, like I said, is mostly just going to be kind of working a little bit more on the quest and dialogue system, a bit on the UI and kind of cleaning things up and making sure you can complete quests and have them set to not activate. I'll probably have them gray out once they've been completed, and they'll probably have a little parentheses added to the end that'll say complete. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. Thank you guys for watching this video. Catch me next week on Rig. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.